I'm back at my favorite airport in the world, the Long Beach Airport, and runway, or the taxiway, and low driveway. Yep, inside the airport. And the light adjustment.
We have to turn off the auto exposure control. Trying to like. There. How do I see here? I'm going to try to manually adjust automatic exposure here. There, that's that. Yeah. Key and then.
Auto exposure lock. Yep, good. Alright. Okay, so I was feeling really hungry, so I came back home. Hi folks, it's me, Hannah. Hey. I was reminiscing about me from about 10 years ago, and my time machine may have taken me back a little bit too far to before that time, because I'm looking like I had just returned from late 1970s sci-fi movie. Yeah. What I was reminiscing about was one of my closet dressing sessions back then, and I was thinking about a time when I had looked at myself in the mirror from the bottom up angle, and I was thinking about how my face was looking back then, and I was trying to I was comparing my facial appearance back then to my current facial appearance today. And I was thinking like, wow, really nice changes. And I was feeling so relieved and appreciative of the changes. Yep. So that takes us to this video, lighting, or I guess I should say shadows, because it's actually more about understanding shadows that can be quite helpful in our efforts to be possible, especially during our earlier transitioning days. Yep. So this video is based on something I learned during my early transitioning days, and information that you might find helpful in your own possibility efforts. Yep. That takes us to the topic of understanding shadows. Yeah. This video is based on my own personal experience. Your experience might have been different from mine. Everybody's unique, and that's cool. Okay, so where do I begin? How about my second time coming out? Second time because I came out twice. The first time in 2015, but I didn't really have the guts to come out and to live full time in my true gender. So I ended up going back into the closet for a few years, and I came out the second time in 2018. 2018, when I came out the second time, I stubbornly kept myself out of the closet, and I remember telling myself, Sunny, just a couple of years after that, everything's going to be just fine. Yep. And I'm glad to say everything did turn out to be just fine. So, yeah, but going back to the early days of my second time coming out in 2018, my body, like physiologically, the muscle layout, the fat distribution, the wiring, they were all still in my guy configuration. So I tried like makeup, and one day, I tried really, really hard, and this was what happened. So let that be a lesson to you. If you're transgender, maybe you shouldn't try too hard with makeup. Okay, so a breakthrough happened one day. That morning, I was preparing for an out-of-town business trip. I remember looking at my reflection in my mirror at home and seeing a guy-looking reflection of me. But that evening, I checked into a hotel. It was a really nice hotel. I think it was one of the Hiltons. When I entered the bathroom and turned on the vanity lights, the reflection of me that I saw in the mirror was no longer a guy-looking reflection of me, but instead the reflection was very, very a woman-looking reflection of me. So how was I looking like a guy that morning, that very day, and looking like a woman that evening, that very day? So initially I thought this mirror in the hotel room was possessed by spirits and was messing with me. But then my logic system kicked in, and I was able to look at things from a more systematic, logical perspective, a more scientific perspective, and I was able to find the reason behind the respective reflections of me looking differently between the two mirrors, the hotel's mirror and my mirror at home. Turned out the lighting angles were different between the two mirrors. The hotel's mirror lighting was coming from the sides of the mirror, whereas my mirror, I had a single LED fluorescent lighting bar sitting on the top frame of the mirror. So when I got home, I went to the hardware store and got me a similar LED fluorescent lighting bar as the LED fluorescent lighting bar that was sitting on the top frame of my vanity mirror, and moved the existing LED fluorescent lighting bar to one of the sides of the mirror and installed the new LED fluorescent lighting bar to the other side of the mirror. And so my mirror was set up with lighting coming from the sides. Then I turned on the lights at my vanity mirror, and it was such an amazing feeling, being able to see the reflection of me as a woman-looking reflection of me instead of as a guy-looking reflection of me. Yep. Okay, so here's the thing. Lighting, depending on the angle it's coming from, can cast shadows differently. About 30 years ago, I took an art class. This was during my high school days, and it was a monochromatic rendering art class. And one of the things I learned in that class was that in monochromatic rendering, depicting real life objects, there are no contour lines. In monochromatic drawing, shadows can play a major role in defining objects' shape, and lighting can play a role in defining an object's depth. Okay, so I'm going to show you some of the artwork that I had done, a monochromatic artwork. My drawing book from my high school days, back when I was Henry. No computers like today back then, so this was actually handwritten by me using good old-fashioned calligraphy pen and ink. So on the first page, in the class, we had to do lessons, exercises, and of course homework. And one of the homeworks that we had to do was to pick a real life object and capture it in the drawing. So I picked my sister's little backpack back then, and I had just learned about not having contour lines in real life and about reflections. It's not just the light that's coming from the light bulb in the room, it's also the light reflecting from the floor surface back onto the object. So on this surface here, there's a reflection, a little bit of reflection here, and as the surface kind of, the shape kind of changed, the reflection, from the bottom surface kind of stayed back, and the surface continued, and then there's a little bit of a concavity on the surface and up here, and then there's the reflection of the actual room light on the top surface, and the edge here is, it can be seen like as not a corner sharp edge, but as a rounded off edge. And yeah, pretty neat, huh? It's of course an actual shadow of the handle. My first monochromatic drawing. And then we got into like more homework lessons, and I tried to push myself a little further and decided to draw a car. So this was a pretty popular car back then, the Volvo 850 GLT, and this drawing was the first drawing where I learned how to render metallic surfaces. So metallic surfaces were different from like cloth surfaces in that the reflections can be a lot sharper. So the lights and stuff too, like glass surfaces, metal surfaces. This little drawing was quite a bit of challenge for me because there was a lot of like reflections I had to take on. to capture in this drawing. My imaginary car. Pretty ugly, in my opinion. But this one's completely imaginary, but it's a mountainside, and trying to depict the crevices of the mountain stuff. Yep. Using just shading and again, no contour lines. There's a rock surface here, and it's like no contour lines in between. So this is kind of similar to, like, this is an organic shape. A face is an organic shape as well. An imaginary house. The different sides, different shadings. And we're learning perspectives, 3D perspectives. Back then. More car drawings. Let's see if I can find the next drawing book or another drawing book. This was, it's kind of fallen apart over the years, but I should restore it. But it's pretty cool in the sense that I'm gonna try to show it without things falling apart here. It's yeah, it's a monochromatic, but it's showing like complementaries, right? So here we can see a shape here, and then this shape looks like it's opening up, or going back into like a 3D space thing. But this shape is actually like, there's nothing really like defining it, right? Something like that. I mean, you know what I'm saying. I mean, these little lines here, there isn't even a line in between. It's just these shapes stop, and they're actually defining this general shape. And that's pretty much one of the points I'm trying to make here, is some of the parts of the art are implied. We know that the shape's there, implied, but if we were to actually detect a shape there, I mean, if we were to actually like see if, you know, there are any contour lines, boundaries, you know, defining the shape, there are none, but we know that the shape's there. Yep. So that's basically what I'm trying to get at here. Yep. Right. This was from my junior college days. I placed this up here so that I could show you some of my other drawings. Another one of my imaginary cars, but this was from 1999. So 3 years afterwards, my drawing skills had improved, and I was into SUVs and stuff for some reason. One of the things that I used to fantasize about was, you know, like mech warriors and stuff, getting into like an armored robot kind of creature-like kind of a machine, and being able to drive it Well, one of my fantasies was to build something like this. So yeah, it's a pretty cool, eh? And some shading there is completely 100% out of my own imagination. But by this time I had improved my skills in rendering. So yeah, pretty cool, huh? Another one of my imaginary cars, but seems to be improving, right? I mean, straight out of my own imagination, but now this car is looking like an actual real life car, including the shine on the windshield. See how like the windshield, we know the windshield's there, but the definition of the windshield isn't really there in this area because of the reflection in the picture. But yeah, that's an example of what I'm trying to talk about here with like lighting and stuff. Yeah, understanding shadows. Let's see if I have any other pictures. This was like September of year 2000. And this was a view from my imaginary house. There seems to be a lake at a distance here, and some wooden flooring in front, and a little breezy curtain on the window. That's fascinating. Almost looks like 3D perspective, kind of a drawing of an imaginary plane, of a plane from my own imagination. Pretty cool, eh? So now I'm going to try to show you some of the possibilities of lighting effects by positioning this my old table lamp here in various positions. Okay, so right now it's on the table. The light angle is like this way. So my forehead here, my brow ridge area, it doesn't matter how big or small my brow ridge may be, because the light's coming from this angle, chances of shadow forming by the brow ridge are reduced. So, you know, for those who are in your early transitioning days and who whose brow ridges might be quite protruding quite a bit, might be able to try this technique. And I guess you could let me know in the comments below if that trick was able to help reduce the amount of shadow above the eyes area, like the eyelids and stuff. Yep. Okay. So now I'm bringing my light, my table lamp up directly towards the side of my face. See how my appearance has changed already. Chin. See the concavity? Concave. Yeah, I can also like this little concavity here by casting a shadow or decrease the appearance of the concavity or increase the appearance of the concavity here by casting a shadow, removing the shadow. Okay, the shadow is gone, the little concavity is gone. So this is directly from this angle. Now we can see some like some shapes forming. Then on this side, top, a beginning transgender's least favorite lighting position is this, because then it brings about like all the features in a way that makes the face look more masculine. This face compared to this face. Guy looking, women looking, cute and cuddly looking. So, yep. Laters.